Hello, and thanks for joining me as we head out to the weekly farmers market. Here in Turkey, farmers markets, or pazars, are a necessary part of life for many people, and it's personally one of my favorite things about living in Turkey. Before heading to the market, though, I had to stop at one of my favorite barekçis and pick up a delicious chocolate simit. It's a weekend treat that I always look forward to now. Farmers markets exist in most cities and towns and even in small villages throughout Turkey, and they're usually divided into a few sections. There's an area for food, which typically consists of produce, cheeses, eggs, spices, and there's also normally an area for clothing and shoes, and usually another section for home items like kitchen gadgets, towels, things that you need for around the house. One thing I don't see at farmers markets in Turkey that are usually plentiful at farmers markets in the US are vendors selling arts and crafts, food trucks, or bakery items. And that's not to say that they don't exist at Turkish farmers markets, because I have seen them, but they usually just don't make up a large portion of the market like they would in the US. The Saturday farmers market here in Datça is one of my favorites. It's neither too big nor too small, and the selection is truly great. There are also a lot of vendors selling produce that was grown right here in the peninsula in some of the surrounding villages. And it's interesting to talk to these vendors and hear their insights on this new home of mine. And I have to say, they are some of the nicest people, and sometimes they even throw in some extra stuff for us to try on them. I always appreciate their kindness and generosity. One noticeable difference when it comes to produce here in Turkey is the seasonality of items, and this has been a bit difficult for me to get used to. In the US, you can pretty much find most types of produce year-round fairly easily, but it's not quite as easy in Turkey. So when your favorite fruit or vegetable is in season, you really have to take advantage. I certainly did that when figs were in season, and it's pretty much all I ate for weeks on end because I didn't want to miss out. But the flip side to this is that when the produce is available, you can be sure it is always fresh and delicious. There are no hard and fast rules to the farmers markets here in Turkey, but there are a few things to keep in mind. First, cash is still king at the market in Turkey, so make sure to bring some if you want to do any shopping. There may be a booth or two at some markets that I've seen accept credit cards, but it's really not that common. Also, the old adage of the early bird gets the worm is definitely true. Arriving at the market earlier in the day will usually assure that you get the best pick of products. However, if you're looking for a bargain, you can try hitting them up in the afternoon before everyone's left for the day, and a lot of the vendors will often offer reduced prices to get rid of any additional fruits and veggies. Not all vendors will allow you to pick your own items. Depending on the vendor and the food, some may require that you tell them how much you want and then they'll bag the item for you. I personally don't love this since I like to inspect each piece of produce, but you're most likely to see this with items that are a little bit more expensive or sensitive, like figs. They'll usually have a small sign though posted next to the item indicating that they'll pick it for you. Also, you'll likely need to be a little bit more assertive when trying to catch a vendor's attention or paying for your stuff if it's busy. Simply put, the idea of patiently waiting your turn in line won't get you anywhere here, so you have to be sure to speak up when you're ready. I find the Turkish farmers markets to be invigorating. There are so many scents in the air and people buzzing around. In the US, I tend to notice that farmers markets are seen more as a fun weekend activity, a place where you can buy extremely expensive produce just for the mere fact that it's from the farmers market. But in Turkey, the farmers market is real life, and it's the best place to not only get the freshest produce, but also the best priced. Now, I bet you're wondering about prices, right? I thought it'd be fun to do a little haul of what I purchased on this day and show you. We were out of town prior to this and our fridge was completely empty, so we needed a full restock. But let's go through and look at cost. It's especially interesting for me to see how prices have increased at the market just in under a year that I've been here. Inflation is no joke. Keep in mind, at the time of filming this, which is mid-December 2023, the exchange rate is about 29 Turkish lira to $1. So, would you consider all of this food to be affordable? I suppose it's all relative. When I look back at what this would have cost me in the US, it seems like a fantastic deal for all of this fresh produce, but it's important to not take for granted the buying power of the lira versus the dollar. Although you'll definitely get the best deal at the farmers markets in Turkey, it's still not considered cheap for Turks. Nearly every evening on the news, there are reports about the rising cost of living here and how much staple food items that you'd get at the market keep going up in price. So it's a real concern for many Turks. But I'd be interested in hearing from you and how these prices compare to where you live. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I really do appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more from my perspective as an American living in Turkey, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Until next time, thanks!